World War II is probably the most wargamed historical period out there. And there are so many different rules you can choose from. Simple rules, detailed simulations, small battles, big battles. How do you choose the rules that are right for you and your club? Well, we are here to give you a rundown of the most popular rule sets out there today. Whether you're just starting or been gaming for years, we'll get you playing the right set of rules. Yeah! Alright, we're going to talk today about what we think are the most popular and most played set of World War II wargame rules, and we're going to break them down. We're going to tell you what's unique about them, and mostly what type of game club we think they would appeal to.
Wait, Mark, World War II?
Yeah. Dude, what kind of hat are you wearing?
I thought we were doing War of the Austrian Succession this week.
Oh, there's one set of rules on there?
I just wear this every day. I don't know what you guys are doing.
Crazy. You look like Thurston Howell.
I'll take it.
All right, me too.
There you go.
All right, enough with the hats. All right, let's get to it. So, first set of rules we're going to talk about is bolt action. Bolt action is published by Warlord Games. There are two unique things about the game. First is its activation dice. Each turn, a player rolls a certain number of dice, which indicate what actions they can take. Even though bolt action is an I go, you go game, the activation dice break that up a little so it's not so predictable. The second unique element is that of all the games we're going to talk about here, this one is a game in a box. You can buy the rulebook and one of several different miniature sets to start playing. Next, let's talk about scale. Bolt action is platoon scale. A typical game allows for several squads and a vehicle or two for each side. Figures are based individually, but they don't act as individuals. They more are hit points within a squad. Now, complexity. The rulebook is fairly thick, and although the game is not difficult, you will need to spend time getting a handle on the game if you're starting from scratch. Veteran gamers will be able to get through it fairly quickly, but it will be a commitment of time for new gamers. Now, what club would this be a good fit for? We think it's really good for a club with a lot of 40K players that are looking to get into historical games. A lot of the mechanics will feel familiar, and the packaging of the minis is in the Games Workshop style. If you like tournament games, this is also for you. An average game will be able to accommodate between 2 to 6 people.
I think they call it, the rules authors call it a platoon plus, or reinforced platoon, right? Because there is room for like a tank or an armored car to be stuck in there, but it's not really made to focus on that. It's the infantry.
Yeah, well, I think that is supported by the miniatures line that they created for the game, which has really beautiful, detailed 28mm figures, often as characters' personalities and real World War II heroes. So, yeah.
And guys with mohawks.
Yes.
In the case of one box.
Yeah.
And I know they, I think what I've heard is that they the same Warlord Games, the same producer, just came out with a different game in the same line called Achtung Panzer, which is made to work in a different world where it focuses on armor and they kind of abstract the infantry elements of that. I haven't played it, but I know that they're trying to support something different.
You know, Matt, I think it's funny. I think that game solves a problem with this game. Ooh. Because they really want to sell really cool models of tanks and stuff, but this game really doesn't actually work with that kind of stuff. Honestly, I think this game plays best when you're just infantry and maybe a small little vehicle.
Totally with you.
Whereas, you know, people want to buy and paint cool 28mm tanks.
Right.
So that Achtung Panzer is now going to be like for the tank people, for the gear, the tread heads out there. The scum of the earth. Really.
That's right.
This is a call out to all the tank people. Okay, come up to us and argue with us about it.
Carl's putting you on notice.
Yeah, so sorry.
We are on the gauntlet.
We're a planes and ships channel. Okay? We don't want tanks.
Now we do have YouTuber beef. He's coming to me where I live.
All right. So an infantry game. What you're saying?
Yeah, I would say so.
Right. So infantry game, I think it's well played. Probably up to 6 people can have fun with this game.
Yeah.
Right? I've played good games with 6 people, And you can go down to 2, it's fine. I think if you get over 6, you probably won't have enough troops on the table.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of bogs down.
And you may not get to go that often because it has a unique draw from a bag activation system, which you can actually have multiple players by having different colored dice in the bag. Mm-hmm. But the more players, the rarer it will be for you to actually go, which can be a problem.
Yeah. And I think this scale is very popular, meaning a lot of the rules we're going to talk about are this platoon scale where you get a couple squads and a tank or 2.
This does live in the world of single-based miniatures, so it feels more skirmishy, as opposed to like Fireball or Flames of War, where they're group-based.
It also, to me, has a bit of a 40K feel.
Yes,
definitely.
It's appealing to, and I think a gateway game for a lot of historical wargamer people going from the dark side of 40K over to historical wargaming. This will often be their first, this or Flames of War.
So let's move on to another single-based game, 1 Hour Skirmish Wargames.
Oh.
All right, so we have some early videos we did using this, so if you want to see how it's played, go check out our early videos, La Fair Bridge.
Yeah, it's called a call to action.
They're from
call to action.
They're from a very early period in the channel's history. There were some of our first videos. Mark has like flowing long hair.
Yes,
in those videos.
He really let himself go.
You know that it's
I was a hippie phase for Mark.
Yeah. Wow. 1 Hour Skirmish Wargames is written by John Lambshead and available on Amazon. The most unique element in this game is that it does not use any dice. Everything is resolved with a couple of decks of normal playing cards. Players draw competing cards with the highest card winning. It's simple, straightforward, and the different card suits allowed for more variability, especially if you're adding those house rules. This is an I go, you go game. Each turn, a player draws a card to see how many actions they are allowed that turn. Scale. This is definitely a squad level game. Figures are based individually and act as individuals. Because you are playing with individual models that are limited in what they can do by the number of actions you draw, the system cannot accommodate a large number of models. But it does allow for vehicles, so you can easily play a squad plus a vehicle. Now these rules are simple. They're fairly brief and easy to read. It shouldn't take anyone more than 15 minutes to read through them and start playing. These rules are perfect for someone just starting out in World War II miniatures. If you're looking to try out World War II, start here. You don't need many miniatures to play, and you can get them on the table quick. It's also a great way for veteran gamers to use their current collections for interesting squad level actions. If you want to get in something really quick and you don't have all the gear, 1 Hour Skirmish Wargames, way to go.
Go ahead. Well, it feels smaller, right? Because this bolt action is sort of made for the platoon level.
Right.
You can play a platoon level game in 1 Hour Skirmish, but it's on the larger end, right? Yeah. You're kind of pushing the limits of the game a bit.
Talking about the unique characteristics that this particular game has, one thing I love about this game is how flexible and adaptable it is. We've used it for all kinds of different things. So if there's a particular part of World War II that you really want to model, say you want to do like a Guns of Navarone commando thing and have stealth rules and stuff, there's just so many interesting ways to like tackle on other stuff that they even suggest for you in the book.
Yeah.
So flexibility, I would say, is this game's one unique thing for sure.
But also a weakness in that you're going to have to do it yourself. So I know for a lot of people out there, they kind of want that handheld, they give you everything. Right. This is the opposite of that, where if you're willing to put into it, you're going to get out a lot because you can make it whatever you want. It's kind of a toolbox.
Who's this a good fit for, Mark?
I think this is a really good fit for totally new people. Because, first of all, like Matt said, you can't really do a platoon, so you're going to do maybe like a squad plus. So if you're starting out from scratch, you don't need to paint or buy a lot of figures. So that's one. Two is the rules are very quick to get through, and you just play with cards. Like, if you watch our video with George Laws Jr., he had never played a war game in his life.
Well, hey, I'll tell you, it was really cool. I was a little apprehensive because I thought that, it'd kind of be over my head as far as the details and things like that. But Actually, it was pretty easy to follow, and you kind of get used to the card game aspect of it. And I'm sure after a couple of games, you pick up all the rules. So it was a lot of fun. Plus, we won. So
we're gonna go to your favorite.
Oh,
Rapid Fire Reloaded. Now, Rapid Fire came out in the mid '90s, right? But they recently have come out with a new version called Reloaded. So I wanted to try it and put it out there. I've been hearing some buzz about it on there.
I don't know.
Rapid Fire Reloaded is written by Colin Rumford and Richard Marsh. You can pick it up on the Rapid Fire website, where you will also find a lot of free material to support the game. Now, I found its unique characteristic to be its sequence of play. They're able to keep the rules simple and with a low page count by having a sequence of play that allows you to perform tactics without detailed rules. It is elegant in that regard. Now, for scale, the game says you can use it from anything from skirmishes to brigade level games all the way up to division. Now, my experience with the game led me to think that it really doesn't have a true scale. It's basically up to you to decide what it is. For complexity, I'm going to give this one an easy/moderate. Now, the rules are only 10 pages and you can read them very quickly and start playing. But there are a couple rules and things that you need to keep track of that keep these rules from being super easy to implement. I think these rules are perfect for a group just getting into World War II games, but who want something more than just a few minis on the table. If you want to get started with big games in World War II and you're starting from scratch, you might give this a try. Matt, what do you think? Because I don't think Matt appreciated.
no, I feel I always feel bad, but I think what I got out of it is it didn't feel like a World War II game to me, which is I think the greatest sin any game can do. Right, is that it doesn't feel like what it's supposed to be on the face of it. It felt like a very gamey, almost felt like it took its inspiration most from like the original Little Wars, where a lot of it is to support the way that miniatures look, and they just wanted to sort of throw everything in there in little pieces, and it just didn't feel like a modern war game, I think, should, where there's almost no focus on a lot of the things that we've come to expect of like command and control. There's just
there's no command and control.
Morale, everyone basically dies to the last man. A lot of the heavy weapons and things had very little thought put into how they work, so there's a lot of weird stuff like infantry, just as an example.
Dude, you didn't like this. What's going on here? This was a positive review.
It didn't sit right with me. This one, I don't know.
Okay. They've got rules for Nebelwerfers in this.
All right.
My greatest weakness.
So having said that, though, this is the rules. Like, you buy a PDF. I printed it out. It's really just a few pages, right? So I think it's actually good for new people. Like, if you want to start, and maybe you've started with something like this, where you only need a handful of figures, but you want to grow your collection, and you still don't want to get into kind of a real crunchy set of rules, like, this is pretty easy to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you picked it up, you came to the game, you picked it up off the table, and like in 10 minutes you had it.
For sure.
Right.
It is easy.
So it's easy if you just want to like get together with your friends, not spend forever investing in a rule set, because some of these rules, really to play well, you're going to have to invest your time. And you're going to have to get to know these rules with your friends over time. And then, what if you do that and like, oh my god, we've spent so long, we hate them. Like, I've had that. This, you're going to read in 10 minutes, you're going to play it, you can discard it, you can play it more. So it's an easy set of rules for that. So
if you're anything like me, you'll know if you like it immediately.
So
it's the Venn diagram of has a lot of figures, more than that, but also isn't a strong reader. So we'll see. I don't know. I like any rule set that has special rules for Nebelwerfers.
That's right.
It has
its own section.
Do they have rules for war elephants? Because that's kind of my litmus test, Mark.
I
There's
don't
a
know.
problem for you.
Here's one thing. It is well supported.
Okay.
So there's a lot of free stuff online. They probably even have the German elephant.
technically a war elephant.
Technically a war elephant.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would say is this only cost me $6. So it's $6 to get the rules, all the free stuff they have. It felt like a really low investment to try this set of rules. So
For $6, I will buy Matt a copy of this.
Next up is Battlegroup, which is currently available from the Plastic Toy Soldier Company as print on demand. They have the core rulebook and all of the supplements. Now, the most obvious unique part of Battlegroup is the force battle rating. This is essentially the morale of your force. When bad things happen to your force, you secretly draw a chit which lowers your battle force rating. When the rating reaches 0, you have lost and the game ends. You never really know how close you are to breaking your enemy. Nice. It also uses a random orders generation system to represent friction in battle and keep you guessing. For scale here, you're looking at platoon scale. Players build their forces based on points, but you usually are looking at a game with a few squads and a couple vehicles. Miniatures are individually based, so your minis could be used in any of the other platoon-scaled games we have mentioned. For complexity, I'm going to rate this moderate high. This is a substantial set of rules that will take you some time to master. Now, who is this game for? Oddly, I think the rules work well for a group that has a lot of gamers that come from Flames of War or non-historical games like Warhammer 40k or Eurogames. And I say that because it has some interesting mechanics, but the detail in how it depicts actual World War II equipment is fairly generic. If you're a hardcore World War II aficionado, you will likely be frustrated with how it depicts individual weapons.
Yeah, because they put out a lot of expansions and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like a very well-supported game.
It's a well-supported game. I've played it a few times. I always enjoyed the morale system. I would just say sometimes the games felt long to me. You know, they kind of felt long. And I wouldn't say it's for newbies. Right, so if you're just starting with Battlegroup might be a bit much. I think it's best played by a mix of people. Like if you're new, if you have a couple of veterans around, that'll be good because they'll be used to a lot of the wordage and how you play, and they can get you going kind of quickly. But I wouldn't say it's for new people. So if you like that scale, you might start with something like start with 1 Hour Skirmish Wargames when you only have 10 figures, and then once you build up to like 30 or 40 figures, try like Bolt Action, and then once you're kind of familiar with gaming, then you can try that. Now let's talk about Chain of Command, available from Two Fat Lardies. You can order the rules and scenario books from their website. Undoubtedly, the most unique feature of Chain of Command is the patrol phase. This is how the game handles setting up the armies. Each player has a set of patrol tokens, which they move on the table until they are frozen in place by enemy patrol tokens. Units are then able to be placed on the table at the locations of the patrol tokens. It's a metagame before you jump into the tactical combat. The game is also a bit unique in how it models combat efficiency through a mechanic it calls shock. The more shock a unit accumulates, the less combat power it can generate. Managing shock is a big part of the game. For scale, this is platoon scale like several of the other games we've looked at. A few squads and a vehicle or two per side. I'm going to rate its complexity moderate. There are a few concepts you will need to spend some time figuring out, but the rules are pretty straightforward. Now, these aren't the kind of rules you can read just before you want to play and expect it to go well. Give yourself a few days at least to familiarize yourself with the rules before you jump in. I think these rules are great for a club with a lot of bolt action players that want to try something a little different. Also, if your group likes doing campaigns at platoon scale, then you should consider Chain of Command. They have a line of campaign scenario books, which they call pint-sized campaigns, which are really great. Have you guys played Chain of Command?
Yeah, I have. It's it has a lot of recurring features with a lot of the Lardy's games. Like if you played Shark Practice,
right,
kind of similar thing. Yeah, I played it maybe 3 or 4 times now.
Yeah,
it's fun. I mean, I think there's things I like about it and things I don't. I don't want to be too on the fence here. I feel like I'm pulling a Matt.
We're really switching roles.
Yeah,
normally that's me, but we all know what just happened on my side.
I think the patrol phase is a really interesting idea, but I find often, like, once the game begins, everyone's just kind of frozen in place.
I had that experience where the patrol phase went out, everyone locks up, and then you're kind of you put stuff down, and then it becomes a lot about the shooting. Mm-hmm. And I had a question about that. I was like, I don't like that so much, and I put it out like for a question in a group, and man, the amount of hatred I got back because I said that. I was like, well, there's not a lot of maneuver, and I don't know what you're doing, and I was like, wow. So it just showed me a lot of people are passionate about Chain of Command. Mm-hmm. And it's a well put together game, and I know people that love it, I know people that hate it. Mm-hmm. I think, again, if you're in the bolt action world with your minis and you're looking to try something different, Chain of Command is a great place to try. And you'll either like it or you won't like it.
It seems like a really deep pool versus a newbie game. Like, this is a game that, like, hey, once you get into this could become like a lifestyle game for your group. Like, you play this.
Let's move on to what I consider a sister game to Chain of Command, O Group. Written by David C.R. Brown, you can get the rules on the Two Fat Lardies website. The rules mechanic that stands out in O Group is its command and control system. Each turn, players roll O Group dice, which translate into orders which you hand out to your troops. This forces you to prioritize what your troops are doing and sets up a nice tension in the game. O Group is unique in our rules roundup as being the only battalion scale game. One base represents a platoon, which is made up of several miniatures of 20mm scale or smaller. You'll need a lot of miniatures, both infantry and vehicles. For complexity, I rate these rules high. I was recently looking at a Discord server that plays O Group, and 2 of the gamers were having a debate over the meaning of a term and how that affects the rules interpretation. Now, all games have this, but that's definitely an issue here in O Group. This game is for someone who wants to move beyond the tactical and do a larger game than you might have in Chain of Command. But it's not an entry-level game. If you've never done World War II, I do not suggest starting with O Group. I would suggest you want to have a veteran player take a stab at it. It's also really good for 2 players. I haven't played it a lot, but it seems like 2 to 4 is max, really, with 2 players being ideal.
Yeah, I own this one, I've read it, but I haven't had the courage to play it yet. It's not, I wouldn't say it's complicated so much as complex. I know that sounds like the same thing, but what I mean is that it seems straightforward, but it seems like there's a lot to it, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Right, it's one of these games, like, you got to decide you're going to learn this game, right? It's not just, like 1 Hour Skirmish or Rapid Fire Reloaded. You just get it. You're going to pick it up really quickly. This is an investment, I think, right?
Yeah.
Chain of Command, not as much. Bolt action maybe a little more because they seem to add a lot of chrome to bolt action.
Yeah.
But
I would really recommend, if you want to try this game, to go to a convention and play it, or like go over to someone's house, because I think you might. I'm not saying you're going to be disappointed, but like, you want it before you paint lots and lots of guys and build this huge collection around this big scale World War II. You want to be sure that this is what you want, because there's other higher level World War II games out there, but it seems like this one is picking up a lot of traction, and so maybe there certainly are people playing it at shows I've seen, so you can try it there and then buy it afterwards.
So I mean, if you're a veteran group, you could probably get into O Group because you probably have the minis. You don't have to start from scratch. You just need to find one guy that's either willing to read the rules like my friend did, or go to a convention and kind of figure it out first, and then kind of translate it to everyone else.
You need your rules guru, your rules whisperer.
Right.
Yeah.
On that, right. So,
Wait, you're the rules guru in this group, Mark?
me?
Yeah.
The spiritual leader of the
Guys,
game.
Is that why we never know them during the game?
No, that is true.
They
That
stay in
in
the
my closet drives me crazy, right? Let's talk about Fireball. Come on. You guys suck. Thanks, guys. Thanks. So finally, we look at one of my sets of rules, Fireball Forward, which is named after a World War II movie starring Ben Gazzara, and is available at the Fireball Forward website, where you can also find many scenario books. The two unique elements in Fireball is the fluid sequence of play and the range dice. When you activate a unit, usually a platoon, there is no set order in which you must do things. Pieces can move, shoot, and rally in any order you want, which encourages tactical thinking. When it comes to shooting, each weapon has a certain set of what are called range dice. The effects of long and short range are built into the die result. This gets rid of a lot of modifiers and gives a crunchy yet simple depiction of World War II weapons. For scale, Fireball is the only company-level game in our roundup. If you know the board game Squad Leader, it's that same scale. You typically have several platoons, both infantry and armor, in a game. Each base represents a squad, so you'll have several miniatures on a stand, usually 20mm or smaller. I rate Fireball a moderate-high complexity. There are a number of unique rules that you don't see in any other game, but these rules are laid out in a program style, like the game Squad Leader. You read a certain amount of rules, and then you stop and can play a scenario. If you try to take in the entire rulebook at once, it definitely will be an investment of time. But the programmed aspect of the rules keep this from being a high complexity game. Now, Fireball Forward is good for a club of real gamers and people that love trying to figure out the best tactics in any situation. The fluid style of the activation system offers a lot of flexibility for that. If you have a friend that you like to go head-to-head in a tight game, then this is for you. Crossfire players will also see this as a more developed version of Crossfire, so I would recommend it to them as well. It's not for beginners, but if you get into it, Fireball is worth the time. It's best played with 2 to 4 players.
The uniqueness, the movement system particularly, is a breath of fresh air. Like when you're used to that, like the Magic Circle kind of format. Right. It's like when I showed that to some of my 40K friends, it was like they'd left the cave.
I also am very fond of the range dice. I think it removes a lot of the like excessive precision that's totally unrealistic of people gaming out to land exactly this far away, so I'm out of range of the STG-44 or what have you, that you might get in a bolt action.
Right.
In this, it's a little variable, so you definitely are more likely to hit in your effective range, but...
Matt, are you saying that the people who wargame are going to be anal retention, or the socially well-adjusted people who wargame?
I would never say
Looking at you, audience.
So I think, that's why we designed it that way, Matt. And I would just say, though, if you're out there thinking about this game, though, it is something you have to get your mind around because it's not in any other game.
I will say it also, I think, fits into some of the scale, at least, that has a lot of overlap with Flames of War.
Yes.
Which I know there's been something of an exodus from Flames of War, and this, it uses essentially the same basing scheme, or can, but works very well in that same realm. I think improves, it does things in a way that I think feel better than with Flames of War.
If I could share my experience with that, besides playing here with you guys and slowly getting, since I moved back to PA, I have been playing with my roommates the original scenario from the core book in order, which kind of builds up complexity as they go. And they're like 40K guys, so they're used to like dice rolling and measuring. But the thing that they are like mind boggled at is like the tactical like interestingness of the scenarios. Like, this isn't meant to be an attack on 40K or anything, but a lot of that is like line up, move forward, and shoot. And so like having a game that has those tactical options and stuff that is really, I think that has been a strength of this game. And the strongest part of this game, and we didn't mention the unique thing, So I think this game has some of the best scenario support of any rule system out there. You don't have to go up and make up your own scenarios. You just wait until the team of sociopaths that meets in Mark's game room every Thursday cooks up another book for you. I think we've done a really good job showing the breadth of what's out there.
I think so.
And that, like, not everything is for everyone, right? Like, I think if it's going to be your first war game versus if you're a veteran, there's different choices.
Yeah.
And we barely scratched the surface is the important thing, too. Like, there's a ton of World War II games that we have not covered here. We haven't really talked in depth about Flames of War or, you know,
Fistful of Toes.
Fistful of Toes.
Right.
I mean, there's a number of games
There's a lot out there. We'll save that for next time.
Yeah.
That's right. And let us know if there's some game out there that we haven't mentioned that you're very passionate about. Let us know in the comments. Maybe we'll run into the next one.
We might be missing something.
Unless
Unless
it's tank based, in which case.
I'll get you.
What a tanker. What about what a tanker?
Ooh.
What a snoozer.
Oh! All right, we ended there. No rebuttal.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us. If we missed something you want to hear about, let us know. Give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.